Hello, welcome to the video on consignment order within Business Central using our add-on NB Procure. If you're a Business Central user, have you wondered how to handle a consignment order, business process, or if you are dealing with sales or return scenario, how would you map that within Business Central? So that is the pain point we are going to address in this video. Hi, my name is Murali Avanamuthu. I am the founder director of Cetas. Welcome to the video on consignment order. What is consignment basically? So here basically, unlike a regular sale, purchase, trading scenario, here the consignor, who is the seller of the product, owns the inventory, delivers to the consignee location, which is the buyer, and owns that inventory, and the buyer, when they sell the product, then they subsequently make the payment to the seller. So that is the relationship between a consignor and a consignee. And it's slightly different between the normal trading scenario where you purchase a product, you agree to pay the amount, the liability is booked in your books, and then you need to pay, when the credit period is over. Whereas here, the payment is linked to the actual sale of the product. So that is basically the consignment as a business process. Now let's look at the process flow within NB Procure as to how we are mapping this in our add-on. So here, if you look at it, we have a NB Procure setup page where you have to enable the consignment order functionality. And when you're creating a purchase order, there are typically three choices available. One is a regular, that is the normal procure to pay process available in Business Central. The second is the consignment order, which we will be covering in this video. And the third possibility is the sale or return. Now, the difference between a consignment order and a sale or return is that in a consignment order, you receive the product and you start selling, and you don't book any liability at the time of receiving the product. And once you have made certain sales of the product received, then you let the consignor know that these are the amount of sales which has happened. And then the consignor agrees to invoice only for the product sold. In a sale or return scenario, it is like the regular PO. When a GRN happens, the liability is also booked. The only difference being at the agreed time of return period, whichever product is not sold will get automatically returned through a purchase return order functionality. That is the only difference between a consignment order and sale or return. Now let's get into the product and see how we are handling these two, consignment order and the sale or return process. Now this is the Procure setup page I was talking about. If you can see, there are two fields. One is the consignment order, which is highlighted here. So you can choose to turn it on if you do business on the consignment model. And then the next field, if you see, which I will be covering a bit later as well, which is the automatic purchase return. So when you turn that on based on the return due date field on the purchase order, or at the setup at the vendor card level, the system will automatically trigger a purchase return order. Now let's get to the consignment process flow. We are now in the purchase order page, and as you can see, we have chosen the type of the order as a consignment order. And the next screenshot shows you the time of GRN. If you can see here, because I have chosen the order type as consignment, I am able to do only receive. So I do not have the other options which are default available in Business Central, which is receive an invoice or invoice only. We can only do receive. That is the functionality which we have done in our add-on. And the next screenshots talk about the typical sales process where you are booking sales from multiple customers against the product which you just received. Now let's get to the purchase invoice booking functionality, where if you can see, typically we would do something called as a get receipt lines and bring in all the GRNs done over a period and then add them to the invoice. We have now added another functionality called as get consignment orders, and that will basically show you the list of sales you have done against this particular purchase order against this particular vendor. So then you can choose what are all the sales you want to include in the current invoice, and that would basically be created as a purchase invoice. So as you can see here, these are the two sales we have done, and those two quantities are reflecting in my purchase invoice now. So that is basically how the consignment as a, from the purchase order to the receipt to the invoice booking we have shown you now. Let's now look at the sale or return. Again, I am showing you a sample of a purchase order screen where the document type is now shown as sale or return, and the screenshot below talks about the GRN stage where you have the typical choice of receive invoice and receive an invoice as well. Okay, and the sales happens normally against the order which you have received. And now we are talking about a purchase return order functionality. So there is a automatic job which is scheduled, and that will look for those purchases which are meeting the return due date field, and those quantities which are unsold the system tracks and automatically loads them to a purchase return order. So that is basically how the sales or return scenario is handled, and this purchase return order functionality is applicable for consignment order also if you have chosen the automatic return flag and the NB Procure setup. So that is the whole consignment and sale or return functionality within NB Procure. And if you have any further questions, you can contact us using the given information. Thank you for watching.